we're talking with Lindsay Green-Barber, who is currently an ACLS Public Fellow at the Center for Investigative Reporting. And we're going to talk to her about how she applied for the fellowship and what she's doing in her role as a media impact analyst. So thanks for coming to talk to us today, Lindsay.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's nice to be back. So I initially came across the job posting at the Center for Investigative Reporting, the media impact analyst position, on an Idealist job posting. And as I kind of clicked through the, if you're interested to apply, go here and down the line, realized it was actually a postdoc. And then the next day I got an email that had gone out on your office's listserv, student listserv, also announcing the fellowship. So I saw it a couple of different ways, but it's kind of an interesting one because there's the fellowship, but the positions are all so unique and so different that you think about it in terms of a fellowship, but what really matters most, I think, are the specific positions that one might be interested in taking on. It was a fairly standard job application, actually, as opposed to kind of an academic application. You needed a resume, a cover letter, writing samples for the position that I applied for, and then they also asked for a CV and letters of recommendation. But the letters of recommendation also were specifically, asking you to speak about the skills you may need for the particular job setting, which is a bit different than if you're asking for a recommendation for an academic position. I think that the hardest part of the application process is probably the cover letter, and thinking about all of these positions are invented for the fellows. So one of the kind of parts of the ACLS Public Fellows Program is that organizations who participate have to create a job that a recent Ph.D. graduate would have specific skills somehow that would be different than what they would normally hire, or different than skills a person they may normally hire might have. So really thinking about how to very kind of succinctly in one page be able to communicate how the skills I had gained in graduate school transferred into a nonprofit news organization's context, which isn't something I had actually thought very much about beforehand. And again, because this is a brand new position, other organizations don't have it, there's a lot of I had the opportunity to really think about what I would want the job to be and be a little bit inventive and creative. And thinking like, what could I do in this kind of a position? What would it mean to me? And I had a lot of flexibility, and I think that it was helpful in the process that I actually had thought about what I would be doing on a day-to-day basis there, what I could do, what kind of research skills I had that I don't think they'd actually even thought about when making the job position, because it was just kind of a spontaneous creation process. So after you submit the application, the ACLS goes through them, but you submit an application for a specific position as opposed to for the fellowship. So it's really like a tailored job application. And then they send, I'm not sure how many, but they kind of narrow it down, and they send a small group of applicants onto the organization. And then they go through what would be kind of their normal hiring process. CIR is based in California, so I wasn't able to go out there and meet anyone face to face, but I had a series of phone interviews and Skype interviews. And then at the very end, actually, their executive director was in New York, and I had the opportunity, really the interviews were over, but I had the opportunity to actually sit down and chat with someone from there face to face, which made it a lot, I think, easier. I was going to accept this position, but psychologically it made it nice that I had actually sat down in a room and had coffee with someone from there before I moved cross country. I think during my dissertation research and while I was writing, I was in Ecuador, and I was working with organizations there that had participated in the research process to try to kind of make some new communication strategies based on the findings of my research, and I really enjoyed the kind of applied research aspect of that and working with organizations and taking what I was doing in terms of studies and doing something with it right away in a very kind of tangible way. And so I think that because I could imagine what that was like and I could communicate that in an interview, that I had that experience, that it made them feel more comfortable, that I'd be able to do, research in the organization that they would be able to kind of make actionable right away. And I had thought through kind of like what would I want to do? What would that look like? What kind of information would I need access to? And I think they were maybe surprised that I had already thought that many steps ahead, because I'm not sure if they had really thought that many steps ahead. And so I think that was probably what made them most hopeful that they would get a lot out of the position, and where I was able to really show like what kind of skills that we get in a graduate program that actually are useful out in the real world. It's a 2-year postdoc, so you typically start in July or September. Goes for 2 years. You actually don't have to check in very much with ACLS. You do a 3-month, or it's a 45-day report, and you come up with your work plan. Again, because they're invented positions, there's a lot of kind of negotiation and creation of the job responsibilities and job description between the fellow and your supervisor and maybe the team you're working on in those first 45 days. And then you report at the end of 1 year. You have kind of a performance review at your job, and you also do a report to ACLS, and then at the end of the 2 years. And you get a salary, and it comes through the organization. So you're kind of a direct employee, really, and so you get all the same employee benefits, healthcare, dental, whatever your organization has, are the benefits that you get. Kinds of things. Recently, I'm actually back in New York for this event series that we've been hosting called Dissection, and the idea is to get academics, practitioners, and media makers, and sometimes foundations together in a room to talk about media impact and to dissect tools that people are developing to measure media impact, or to attempt to measure media impact. So I've been doing event planning, I've been creating agendas, and then I'm doing case studies and analysis around impact to present at the workshops as well. I do a fair bit of writing, whether it be grant writing or just writing about the organization's impact that the development team may then take and tweak to using grants. I write reports about the different investigations, or memos with recommendations, all kinds of things. Go to a lot of meetings, which is something different in an organizational environment, I've found. So there's some navigation of entering a very different work environment than in academia, where you get a lot of autonomy and free time to do your work in the way that you like to structure it, and there's a lot of meetings and being in the office in a set time, and so there's an adjustment period for sure, and recalibrating yourself to be able to work in a different kind of environment. But that the ACLS also, there is I think they call it even I think it was a transition workshop, and got all of the 20 fellows in my cohort together and talked to us a lot about what it's like to be out in the real world, about what to think about, everything from how to dress in an office, to how to participate in meetings, to how to handle conflict in an office environment, and just, it was like a 2-day workshop, so that was really helpful too. And you get this cohort of folks who are all going to go through the same process. And there aren't that many in the West Coast right now, but there's one woman who's in LA, so we can have kind of our little ACLS support group out there too, and touch base and check in and really create that network of folks. Not really, mostly on Twitter is where we do some interacting, and there are listservs, so there's some kind of sharing of information and things. But again, because people are all over the place, it really just depends on the position. I've heard that the public fellows in DC tend to have a bit more interaction because they're more concentrated. They're working in the same couple of departments and things, so they can get in touch. But on the West Coast, they're fewer. Although I did notice for next year now there are fellows all over the place, from Minnesota and Texas and or in California. So every year it seems like there they're actively trying to get people into new spaces and not just have it be concentrated in urban centers. Definitely writing is probably the skill that I didn't realize how much it had improved while I was in grad school through the whole dissertation writing process. Um, and that is useful every day. The editing skills that I learned just from being edited, I think, so frequently are incredibly helpful. Research design and just thinking critically about a problem and how to solve a problem, or think about finding out the reason something's happening. It is something I think we take for granted inside of the university setting. You know, we think about a dissertation proposal workshop and you're just sitting there for a semester thinking through how to frame something that's happening in terms of a question, and then what kind of information do you need to find to be able to answer that question. That's just, I mean, people I think are excited when I frame things that way in the workplace, and it's not, you know, I think that's not the way people tend to think about solving real world problems often with the scientific method. And so it can also be a challenge sometimes to try to explain why it's important. But it's been fun. And so one of the things about the Public Fellows Program that I was a little bit nervous about is I really like teaching. And it's a commitment that you're kind of leaving academia, that you're not intending to be, a tenure track professor. And they ask you that point blank in the interview process, like, are you okay with this? Do you know this is what you're signing up for? And I thought, well, yeah, but I was also thinking I really like teaching. You know, there was like this moment of kind of truth, but what I've realized is that I teach every single day. And I'm learning every single day about 1,000 different things. And so I really appreciate that opportunity to still be constantly teaching, but to also be just learning about, everything from like coding to event planning, which was definitely not in my skill set before. I think the navigating a situation or a workplace where you're constantly working with others is something that we don't do much inside of academia, because so much of the research is really an individual activity. And even when we work on things with people, it tends to be more like, this is your part, this is my part, and then we kind of come back together in the end. And so I think learning that there was certainly a learning curve in how to constantly be working with others on almost everything that I'm doing. And it's, it's great, it's wonderful, you get to share ideas, but also navigating that to the point where you can figure out how to kind of carve out the time that you do need to do the thinking and the introspection and all of that needs to be done too. And so CR is wonderful. I get to work from home 1 day a week, and that's kind of my my relaxation day to let my brain just do its thinking and really working through problems. And so I've been able to, in that way, kind of get that personal space that I need to really be able to think about the problems I'm dealing with and the challenges and how to come up with new measures for whatever it is I'm measuring, all these things. But still, be really integrated into the workplace and be able to take advantage of what working together means too. So the fellowship will be over in July 2015. So I've got a little more than a year left. There is a possibility I could be offered a job at CIR, which would be great, and I could stay working there. I really enjoy the space that I'm working in, the media analysis, and I think impact is just a piece of what this kind of bigger position is really becoming and what we've been creating in the last 10 months now, I guess. So I want to stay in this space for sure. I don't know exactly what that will look like, if it would be at CIR or if it will be with another organization, if it may be kind of more on doing some sort of consulting, either with a firm or on my own. So not sure what, but something similar to what I'm doing now. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I feel like in academia we spend so much time and we're so concentrated on just doing what we're doing, and you're trying to get your dissertation done and you're trying to get to the finish line, and you have some sense of, you just assume you're going to go into teaching because teaching's great and you love research, so you've got to go to a university, and I didn't spend much time thinking about what else there might be out there. And I just remember at one point I was driving cross country with a friend after I'd gotten back from Ecuador, and we were playing this game of just thinking of like the most ludicrous, but like in a perfect dream world, what would you do? And I was like, I would just love to work for NPR, which came out of the blue. It has nothing to do with my dissertation. Like, I don't work in media. And then this position came up, and now I'm working at an organization that's beginning to produce a weekly radio program for public radio stations. So it really feels like a wildest dream that I almost didn't even know that I had. And it's incredible. And I mean, there are plenty of challenges as well, but it's great. I can do research, I can teach, and I'm doing a whole lot of other things too that I just hadn't really thought much about or even thought were